Print is everywhere. It's in the morning newspaper thrown onto your front porch every morning. It's in the owner's manual in every single car ever produced. It fills our bookstores worldwide. Almost every modern home owns a printer. This seems so commonplace to us now we wouldn't even think to bat an eye. What would we do if all of a sudden that gift were to be suddenly taken away from us? How would we manage? It seems almost inconceivable. And it used to be that way. A long time ago, there was no way of printing. Most people didn't even know how to read. Can you imagine such a society? Having to put blind faith in those around you for information. Not having books to read to your children as they fall asleep. Thankfully, we will never know what that is like thanks to the invention of the printing press. Before the invention of the printing press, almost all of the population was illiterate. There were no books to be had. Any news was delivered orally and in person. Any books that existed had been hand-drawn by monks and scribes and were extremely long and arduous tasks. It could take a year to complete just one copy. Considering that most of the population couldn't read, they were not common. People relied on their church and their friends to receive information and learn about things. This enabled the church and the aristocracy to control and limit access to information and news, as well as control it completely and bend it to their will. Around 1440, Johannes Gutenberg invents the printing press and changes the world. Suddenly, education and reading isn't just for the upper class. Anyone and everyone can own literature. This drastically changes the landscape of history, religion, and education. It quickly spread all throughout Europe, and by 1500, more than 20 million volumes had been produced. Considering the fact that it used to take one scribe a year to copy a text, this was unheard of. It was revolutionary. Bibles and religious texts were available to everyone and widely distributed. It allowed people to share new ideas with each other over large scales of space, as well as making education readily available. It gave the common person the power to believe in their own opinion. This inevitably led to the rise of the middle class. No longer could the elite hold education and information over their heads. They could no longer be as easily controlled. People began to challenge traditional ideas and concepts, and so the Reformation began. Not only did the printing press have an effect on education and religion, but it had a massive effect on language. It led to the rise of national languages and the fall of Latin. It helped to standardize spelling and grammar within these national languages, as well as standardizing regional dialects. It also contributed to the rise of nationalism in Europe, as well as promoting critical thinking. Standardization of language also helped the spread of knowledge and science. The Gutenberg press eventually gave way to more efficient presses like the steam-powered presses in the 1800s, and have since evolved into our modern-day printers. But the impact of one small invention cannot be overlooked or refuted. Our society as we know it would be nowhere near the same without it. We wouldn't have general access to knowledge and information. Education would still belong to the wealthy, the church, and the elite, and we would still be stuck in the Dark Ages. So much has been changed and been allowed to change thanks to the printed word. We owe Johannes Gutenberg a lot.